Hey guys, and welcome to the Hobby News. Alright, so this week we've got something a little special. I've got another miniature releasing next week, so I thought we'd just do a little shameless plug at the beginning and go through my little news article here on him so you can check him out. He'll be releasing on the 31st of October. We'll take a look in a second. On top of that, we've got some, some pretty nice releases from GW as well, which we'll go through. Some pretty nice Warcry stuff there, a new box with some pretty interesting miniatures in it, but we'll look at that a little later. But first up, we're going to just go through my own brand. So just disclaimer, this is just take this for entertainment value only. This is my own product. So yeah, just letting you know. So Blight of Gods is the name of the brand. And I'm going to be releasing this little guy here. So the Darkspawn Warriors, Demons from the Abyss. So this little one here has taken a long time to bring out, but I'm really happy he's coming. He'll be STL files for download. Won't cost very much, a few dollars in Aussie money. And he'll be released on Monday the 31st. But we'll go through the article and I'll just take you through it. Sorry for any cheesy writing, but I'm new to this. So anyway, we'll keep going. So it's Sunday preview time. Rising from the abyssal sea, the Darkspawn emerge hungry for souls. This Darkspawn Warrior miniature STL files for home printing will be available for purchase in the store next week on Monday the 31st of October. The Darkspawn Warrior files are set at 3.5 inches tall in a heroic 75mm scale. The Darkspawn Warrior in these promotional images was printed in grey resin at 50 microns on a frozen 4K Mighty. Yeah, so he's basically like an oversized 75mm scale, much like the Ghoul Ripper that I released as well, and the Spell Familiars. So they're in the sort of same scale. But he's pretty fun. I'll be releasing also. There'll be a showcase video next week and a painting tutorial on him as well for that week on Thursday. So a bonus video, and I'll go through the painting of this one. So much like the Ghoul Ripper, where we did a lot of underpainting and overpainting techniques with an airbrush and then with a brush to build up the tones in the skin. We'll be doing a similar approach with this one. So yeah, it's pretty fun. That sort of size figure is really cool because you can do a lot more with it. There's a lot of interesting ways that you can approach the color work on this sort of thing. It's a fun thing to do. So if you've got a 3D printer and you're looking for something interesting to print, this one will be available next week. But let's go down and see what else to say about it. So we've got a nice close-up here. So you can see the print quality comes up good. If you had an 8K printer, this would be even better. There is a bit of build material to clean up on these sorts of prints, but, they come up pretty good once you spend a bit of time on them. No different to, cutting things out of a sprue and cleaning up the mold lines and that sort of thing. These files all come unsupported, so you will have to set that up in your slicing software yourself. At the moment, I don't have the capacity to organize that, but I will eventually. But for now, that's on the person buying it, I guess. So yeah, this is the front view, and then we've got the back as well. So all the details came up pretty good. Incidentally, these were originally designed for a much larger scale. So the bigger you print them, the better this ends up looking. So on a bigger scale, if you can do it on your printer, you'll see a lot more of the details. There's a lot of fine work in here that was designed for something much larger. So yeah, there are a lot of textural details and so on that you'd get if you print him a little bit bigger. But anyway, yeah, he's pretty cool. So let's see. The Darkspawn are one of the major demonic forces in Catan. These aquatic demons reside far to the south of Catan, below the depths of the Absu Sea, close to the world's edge. The Darkspawn's home is a sunken necropolis known as the Abyssal Eye, and is populated by broken spires jutting above the ocean amongst a spiral of broken isles reaching out like a chitinous claw, grasping towards the southern coast of Catan. Yeah. So yeah, just a little bit of flavor text to set it up. There'll be more of that as time goes along. I've been doing a lot of writing recently to expand on the universe that this place is all set in, and doing the map and so on. So it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited. Next year should be pretty fun for all of these miniatures. I've got a lot planned for it, so it's been good. But yeah, anyway, let's go down and see if there's anything else I say. So yeah, just I think we're just talking about when it's releasing, but we'll have a look. The Darkspawn are led by the Demon Lord Ganzar, sat atop his ivory throne below the Absu Sea, within the Abyssal Eye. The Demon Prince Anzilu, general of the Darkspawn Horde, commands the aquatic spawn towards the necromantic cities of Catan along the southern coast, in unending war for dominance over the lands of Catan and the poor souls that reside there. Yeah. So the Darkspawn Warrior STL files will be up for purchase in the store on Monday the 31st. Yep, and then I've got the showcase video for that day, and then on Thursday the 3rd will be the painting tutorial, so you'll see that. I'll probably do a preview like I do on the community page there on the channel, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one, so we'll stop my shameless plugging now, and we'll move on to some of the other news, but yeah, I'm really happy. This is pretty cool. We might even get one more before the end of the year, but I'll see how I go. But you can find this in the news section on my website. The link is in the down there, and there's a bunch of other articles there, and obviously all my prints. There's a lot of there's a few on the store now, and some of which are free, so you can download them and test out my sculpting quality and that sort of thing. But yeah, let's move on to some other news. So we've got the Sunday preview here from GW, and we're getting the Leagues of Votan. So they're coming, the book and so on. I think it'll be up for pre-order. So we've got that. And their box set here, so that's pretty cool. So we've got a combat patrol box, and it's got all the stuff that we've seen, so the bikes and so on, the standard troops, the general and the combat unit and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's going to be really fun. I'm glad Dwarves in Space are finally part of the universe, you know, like they're part of the Warhammer 40k universe. It's really nice to see that. It's been a long time coming, so I'm glad they're finally there, because a lot of people love dwarves, and it made no sense why they never bothered to design any, because, well, they did, but, you know, they kept them in the background. But they should be a major faction. Dwarves are, you know, beloved by many people in these sorts of fantasy universes, so it's great to see them finally taking their place. So that's cool, and it bodes well for the future. You know, I'm interested to see how they develop this further along in years to come, you know, and what they do for them, because there's so many nice design directions you can go in with dwarves, and it'll be fun to see what they do. But yeah, we've seen all these before. It's great they're coming. It's going to be really cool. And this one as well, this really interesting design here for a little sort of wizard, I guess, runesmith, and the heavier sort of Terminator-like ones here as well. Yeah, it's going to be cool. Like we've seen all these before, and it's great that they're coming. This as well is really cool. This sort of, I guess, engineer that they've got there. That's really cool. I like this sort of style more, where you've got more of the dwarfish stuff going on. You know, this is the sort of, I guess, the aesthetic that I'm enjoying. I guess it's closer to the Necromundian kind of squat aesthetic, where it's you know, a little bit quirky, a little bit funny, but it's still got that dwarfish look to it. You know, that's the kind of thing that I like. So there's more sort of character there. I like the little moustache he's got going on. All of that sort of you know, detail is really cool on these models. So yeah, a lot of fun. So then we've got the mech suits as well, the exosuits, sorry, and yeah, and the bikes, which I think are a fun one. I like the idea of the grav technology and so on. That'll be interesting how they develop that in the future. There's so many good potential directions they could go in for these dwarves. I'm really excited to see how they go in the years to come and in the future editions of the game, and what that gives them. Yeah, that'll be really cool. Yeah, cool. So we've seen all these. I won't spend too long on these, otherwise I'll be here all day. But yeah, all in all, pretty cool. They've got some nice dice. Again, pretty clear and readable. That's good. We don't want to have like crazy dice like other years past. We've got the cards and so on, and yeah, more from Forge World and that sort of thing. So that's all pretty cool. But I think we'll move on to the next thing, which is a new vehicle, I guess, for Cadia. So with the Imperial Guard releasing, or the Astra Militarum, we've got a new tank design. So this is interesting. So they're going back and now developing some of the chassis, which is great. I think that's a really cool thing. And yeah, this is cool. This is nice to see them spending some attention on Guard, because Guard deserve it. I think they're such a crucial aspect of Warhammer 40k lore and what it all, you know, what it's all centered around, right? The human experience. So having more interesting you know, miniatures and so on for them is good, because a lot of the range is extremely old now, and it's nice to see some fresh stuff. So let's see what they say. So the new Roguel Dawn battle tank is a behemoth of a vehicle, perfectly suited for smashing enemy positions and anchoring defensive lines. Its heavy armor gives it durability worthy of the Praetorian's name. while its powerful engines ensure it doesn't fall behind squadrons of Leman Russ battle tanks. Yep, cool. So yeah, it must be, I guess it's a little longer maybe. That's what it looks like here. But a similar aesthetic, but it's got its own little bits and pieces which are different. It's got wider tracks, it looks like, or at least a wider chassis, but with the same tracks, possibly. Although they do look a little different. It could be a little bit wider. It does definitely look a little longer. Yeah, I really like it. You've got like a double here, so obviously this top canopy piece here is probably wider because you've got the two here, where I think Leman Russes normally only have one hatch. So that's pretty cool. Oh, and we've even got a back spot here for a gunner. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I really like it. This is a cool idea. So it's opening up some other ideas for how they would design further tanks along this line, which I'm sure at some point in the future they'll do that, right? Yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, and even got a spot there for all the little, knapsacks and, camo cloaks and bags and so on, and all the little bits and pieces that you add to these tanks. It's one of the fun things about doing Guard, right? Decking out your tanks and customizing them and all that sort of thing is one of the really cool bits of doing an Imperial Guard army. Doing like the aerials and all that sort of thing, and just all the little extras that you can add to them, and then obviously the weathering and all of that sort of stuff, the battle damage, etc. They're all really, really fun elements to doing these types of armies, and I'm definitely keen to have another go of it. I've done several of these sorts of armies in the past, and it'd be lovely to do another one now that I'm back in the hobby. I definitely will, but we'll see what comes out, and then go from there. With Guard, it's one of those things where there's so many different regiments and so many different styles and themes that you can go down. Drawing a lot from our own historical past. Various countries, armies, and so on, and sort of theming them on those sorts of lines, as Warhammer does. You've got, I think it's you've got like all the different sorts of, I guess, human historical looking styles for the costume and so on. And there's so many third-party vendors now that do like heads and various types of swaps to give you those themes, right? Yeah, that should be really cool. So I'm interested to see what GW does, the official stuff, and then seeing what you can do to actually like create your own little Guard force. That'd be really fun. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It should be coming soon though, right? I'm pretty sure this is all coming in the next few months. So that's really good. Yeah, all in all, really, really cool. So yeah, it's definitely bigger. You can see there. I'm sure it's not by much, but it's definitely a slightly larger chassis than the Leman Russ chassis for sure. Yeah, it looks good there though. That's a really nice image. So yeah, and then finally we'll move on to, I guess, what's perked my interest of late is that they've released a new box for Warcry, and it's got a really interesting aesthetic going on inside of it. On top of that, they're also showing off, I guess, a new warband, the Skinks. So we've seen one of the Skinks before, but not the full warband. And yeah, this is looking really positive for, it's called, what's that, Sundered Fate. Yeah. So we've got like Tzeentch and Skinks. Now these are really interesting. So they're really putting a lot of effort into giving the Lizardmen, I guess, a much more, more characterful individual look to them, because these feel like individual characters. Before in the old range, it's very sort of, carbon copy sort of thing. That could be, I guess, a product of its time, but here we're seeing much more individual style for the sculpture of the sculpting quality of these Skinks. Not just that it's better, but that they're more individualistic, and that's, I think, something new for that range. You don't often see that from basic troop to basic troop, but we're getting a nice variety here. Lots of little trinkets and things to really give them character, and I think that's a great thing. I get that same sort of like goblin vibe, where they're all sort of individual little creatures running around doing their thing, which is a bit counter to their lore, I guess, for what the Lizardmen are, but at least as far as I remember. But here we're seeing much more individual tastes going on, their own decorations and so on, much more characterful for sure. They're all animated, and that's great. The new technology for sculpting and so on gives the sculptors the chance to do this sort of thing. So yeah, way more poses, way more interesting looks, a lot more opportunity for areas to give the painter a chance to do your own thing, like here on the top skull crest thing here. We've got some flat areas to do some freehand painting and so on. Some of that will be sculptural detail, but I don't think these scales are. I think that's been hand painted on. So yeah, even on the tree stump here, we've got some freehand to give it texture. Lots of really fun and interesting little bits and pieces going on here. So I'm really happy this is happening. I'm sure Seraphon players are going to be very happy with this. Generally it bodes well for the future for the Seraphon range. It's a really cool little warband here. And then coming down, we've also got these, I guess, pterodons, but they may call them something else here. So the cunning chameleon skinks who protect the downed void ship are cold-blooded in their tenacity, confounding their prey with poisoned blowpipes and masterful guerrilla tactics. The armored, let's see what they say, terror wings, they're calling these. Okay, so these are really fun. Like, again, that same sort of gobbo vibe I'm getting from this. I love the paint job here, this sort of magenta toned red, really deep sort of blood red sort of style here, moving into the pinks and purples. This is definitely the sort of paint scheme I would choose for these, with the blacks and so on, and a little bit of that purple tone in the mouth there, with those nice deep oranges. That's a really nice color scheme with the teal to counterbalance against that. You'll notice the theme here. So this is like reverse to how I would normally paint something, right? With all the blue greens up here and then a little spot color of red. Here we're doing the reverse. We've got all the reds and that sort of thing as the major element, and then the teals as your little spot color there to go against it, to contrast it. And it's a really nice scheme, right? It feels good to look at. And here you see they're using neutrals. So that's something I often talk about, using neutral blacks rather than a colored highlight for black to support the major colors, right? So if this was blue here, this would confuse you a lot more and stop you from really enjoying the deep lush red that's going on in this wing. That would be competing with the blue that would be in the black if you were to do it that way. But because they've chosen a more neutral style for their blacks, you're not resting too long on that, and it's supporting these colors and making it look deeper and more rich than maybe what it actually is. Obviously it is a photo, so that's obviously going to change it as well, but ultimately that's the theory behind it, right? So you're seeing all of that work here, all those things that I've been talking about over these last couple of years. Here it is in action by some very talented heavy metal painters, and you've got a really good result, right? So that's just some of that theory put into show here, right? So that's cool. And then we come down, we've got this Tzeentch warband, the Jade Obelisk or whatever they're called. So these are really cool. I like this. This is like moving away from normal Warhammer aesthetic. This is getting into sort of like almost, I guess, World of Warcraft, or maybe even Diablo-esque, or many other RPGs that use some of this sort of aesthetic. It's definitely moving away from Warhammer. I don't know what anyone else thinks, but this is sort of moving into something else. They don't often use, there's something about it that's just a step removed from normal Warhammer stuff, which is really good. I like that. I think this is a really interesting idea. He's sort of got this backpack thing that holds this obelisk. I'm assuming something to do with Tzeentch. And I really like the color choice. Obviously the teals are great. That's always good. And we've got the spot colors of the red and so on to counter against it. We're using here we're using some blue to highlight the black on the base, which is okay. That's cool. But all in all, really fun models. Any Chaos player would be really happy with these. These are a cool idea, and again, quite unique. It's not the normal thing. This is starting to get somewhere where I'm really, starting to get really interested. Warcry is one of those things that I'm definitely dabbling in, and I've already got one of the warbands. You'll be seeing me do a video on these at some later point. But I will be playing. I've already started playing some games, but I've got some opinions on it. I've got some ideas about it. But we'll let it ride for a bit longer, and then I'll make my comments on it. But this is a great direction that it's going in. These are really fun. I like everything that's going on here. It's got a very sort of like almost like earlier world kind of design aesthetic for the armor. It's not quite so medieval. It's going back a bit in time, almost. Not entirely, but just something about the cloaks and the hoods with these sort of, tied together pieces and so on, give you that sort of earlier, more ancient kind of look to them. They're almost priestly, I guess, in a way. Really interesting. And I like this thing at the back here. I love a pet class, and having a little monster in your warband is a really good thing. I think think all the Warcry warbands should have something like this. I think this is great. That's one of the best things about the Warcry warbands, are these little creatures that they have come along with them. And this is a really, really interesting one. Isn't it quirky? Like, you've just got this weird sort of bird snake thing with wings and sort of scales and so on. It's a really cool idea. And again, nice color choice. I like the purples going in through the blues. That's the sort of colors I would pick. So I'm not biased in any way, but that's great. And they've got some bows here, which is good. So they've got some range as well as some close combat. It's one of those things that you find in Warcry warbrands that they're sort of more fun when they've got a range of abilities, both from a distance and close up. They tend to be more fun to play, at least from my experience so far. But yeah, really, really cool. I like where this is going a lot. It's going to be fun to see what else they do. And then you get your usual terrain with the box. So we're going more on this sort of the Gnarwood thing. I think that's where it is, with these sort of, I guess, predatory trees and so on. Really interesting design choices here. And that would go well with the previous box, I guess, if you got that one. Yeah, so all in all, really, really fun. I think this is a really good direction for Warcry. I hope it continues, because it's bringing some really fun models to the range. Even if you're not playing Warcry for AOS, there's a ton here that you could use, or even for 40k. There's so much here. So yeah, I think we'll leave it on this guy here, because that's probably the most interesting of the lot. Quite a different look for Warhammer, really. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I guess I'll catch you on the next one.